What mistake should have killed you? One time when I was young and carefree, I was riding a motorcycle for maybe the second time, like 30 miles per hour, and just had some wires in my brain misfire. I was like, I wonder what would happen if I crossed my arms and held the left handlebar with my right hand and the right with my left. I'll tell you what happened. I just narrowly missed oncoming traffic and smacked right into a wall. I stumbled through a bush which had a 1-meter drop after it where I fell down. I landed on my back at the only place down there which didn't have an iron pole sticking out of the ground. That's some Final Destination shit right there. I remember organizing my room when I was 10 or so. I had a lava lamp on the verge of falling off my cabinet. I didn't notice until I heard a loud shatter on my floor. For some reason my brain thought it would be a good idea to pick up all the shards. I jabbed my foot with a huge piece of glass and passed out from the pain. Woke up in a hospital bed thinking it and realized the shard was gone from my foot, was stitched back up, and getting relieved looks from my family. Turns out when I passed out, I hit my head on the cement floor. I was living in my parents' basement and cracked my skull partially open and was bleeding profusely. I got taken to the hospital. My family thought I was dead. Edit, concrete floor, not cement. Thanks for pointing that out. Proof that cleaning your room is dangerous and should never be attempted except by trained professionals. Edit, I feel like a poser over receiving silver for this. I had major issues keeping my room clean as a kid to the point where it was a biannual 2-day undertaking, but I've since become a more organized person. I'm sorry for pretending to be someone I'm not on the internet. I need to go to my room and think about what I've done. Retensioning a garage door spring and the tension tool popped out. The door crashed with enough force to crack the pavement. Edit, had no idea so many others have died doing this. Going forward would never do this again. Taking on a plus 70 hours a week job just for the money. I hated the job, I hated my boss and I hated myself. I could not look myself in the mirror anymore. I was this close to a heart attack, gained 60 kilograms and could hardly sleep, but every month $12,000 on the bank account made me get up again and again. My wife said either you quit or I walk, really saved my life. Your wife did you a solid there. No job is worth killing yourself over. Except the position of death by snoo. Dove into a pool and broke my neck at the sea-to level, hangman fracture it's called. I was so drunk I thought I just pulled a muscle or something, so I kept partying. There's pictures of me with a bag of frozen peas on my neck grilling, taking a shot from an ice luge, etc. all while my fucking neck was broken. Once the disc popped out because I was playing chicken with someone on my shoulders in the same pool hours later, that's when I realized that maybe something was wrong. 1 emergency spinal fusion surgery, 5 days in the hospital, 3 months bedridden, medical discharge from the army, RIP that career, and I'm good as new. I totally should be dead or paralyzed. Edit, I also have a pretty gnarly x-ray showing the plate and screws. Your luck is done. Don't even cross the road where there's not a walk signal. Not wearing a helmet while on a bicycle and stupidly turning left just as a car overtook me. Somehow I only got a neat scar through my eyebrow and some torn up kneecaps from it. But the look on my mother's face when she picked me up from the hospital, that made me realize how profoundly stupid I was that day. Edit, I did make a turn signal with my arm, but the driver apparently didn't see it. He later went over to the hospital to ask if I was okay and to apologize for hitting me. Passed out in the woods after running from the cops. I was at a party in college and decided I was done, so I started walking home. Got like half a mile from campus when a cop pulled over to talk to me. It was like 3 AM and my drunk ass can't walk in a straight line on the sidewalk. My instant drunk reaction to seeing the blue lights was to bolt into the woods at full speed. Naturally I can't see what obstacles are in my way, so at some point I had tried to either climb a fence or ran through thorn bushes. Eventually I ran headfirst into a tree and fell down. I had probably the most absurd thought I've ever had. If I hold my breath the cops can't see where I am. So I did that and passed out while lying on my back in the woods. I woke up a few hours later as the sun was coming up and realized I had shredded my clothes and my face/arms looked like I had been attacked by an animal with all the scratches. The worst one being a vertical cut that went lengthwise down the interior of my forearm, starting at my wrist. This was 12 years ago and I can still see the scar from that particular cut. The rest have healed and faded, but that one is still prominent. Had that been a little deeper, I have no doubt I would have bled out while lying on the ground in the woods, if I didn't already die from alcohol poisoning. There were probably 3 or 4 things that should have killed me that night but didn't. I nearly fell into a fucking volcano leaning on a rope fence. Edit. Holy shit, this comment blew up. Right. More context. I was 8 or 9 at the time, and I managed to catch myself on that same fence after I nearly keeled over it. I never let go of stuff when I fall. This was in Italy, hence the lack of actual safety procedures. The next year's harvest in the nearest town would have been amazing. Glad you are still here. That's a pretty epic one. Edit. I'll tell the village about this gold, and maybe we won't have to build the Wicker Man this year. As teenagers we used to smoke pot in the garage in the car with it running for hours. No idea how we didn't kill everyone in the house multiple times over. Why the running car? Too hot with the windows up, was our thinking at the time. Windows down and everyone would smell us. We needed AC. They still smelled you. Being a young, insecure boy on a motorcycle. When little Timmy bought a bike, he rode it to and fro. He rode it when and how he'd like, and where he chose to go. He rode it fast, and rode it far, and rode it mile on mile. And when he passed a lowly car, he'd pump his fist and smile. He rode his bike, and rode the breeze. He rode with hope and pride. But Tim was young, and too at ease. And Timmy fucking died. 3 years old. Love M&Ms. Fine blue ones behind stove. Yum. Rat poison. Climbed onto one of those underpasses that allow river water to flow through when I was like 5. Got swept in the current and taken down the river. Only reason I survived is my dad saw my long hair barely under the current and jumped in to save me. I know that hair. Your dad? Probably. Edit. Thank you for my first silver. It went more along the lines of, why is there a mop floating down the river? Oh shit. Playing with the laundry chute in my childhood home when I was around 5 years old. My cousins and I took turns dropping things down the chute while someone else stood at the bottom and dodged them. For the most part it was things like washcloths, stuffed animals, a clothing item, etc. Just so happened that when I stood under the chute, my cousin dropped a 5-pound dumbbell down and I, expecting something harmless, didn't get out of the way. That ended the game real quick. I now part my hair in a way that hides the bald spot scar on my head. Edit. Listen, it shoots the laundry down. Also, a weight was dropped on my head. Your cousins pulled a Kevin McAllister on you. Taking a pill from a complete stranger while alone on a beach in Thailand in the middle of the night. Instead, we made out and he put me in a taxi to my hotel at dawn. The pill had been Ritalin. I was completely fine, just more focused, and that's how I first became suspicious I might have ADHD. Turns out I do. When I was 4 I went to a hotel swimming pool with my brother and I said I could swim, so I jumped in the deep end like any 4-year-old. But then I started drowning. My 10-year-old brother jumped in and saved my ass. It's a shame he couldn't save the rest of your body. I called my mama a butthead but she was tipsy so she laughed. Crossed an interstate without looking. I got hit by a grandmother doing 55. Managed to not only not die, but also not break anything. I did, however, get 1st and 2nd degree friction burns on a good portion of my right arm and 1st degree friction burns on my right leg, with further scrapes and contusions all over the place, plus a deep tissue bruise in my right leg that kept me from walking for about a week. I pretty much got scooped up by the car and, I don't believe I'm going to say this, but basically yeeted about 100 feet down the road. Back when I was 12 years old I was helping my mom to cook. She asked me to cut the carrots, which I did, but after that I brain farted, like, I felt an itch in my neck and instinctively tried to scratch myself with my non-dominant hand, left hand, the one that I was holding the knife with. I legitimately didn't realize until I felt the tip of the knife. It wasn't a specially sharp knife, but with a bit more of pressure I would have stabbed myself. To this day I still think about it and how everyone would have believed I suicided in a painful way when in reality I was a dumb kid with a knife. That would have been such an odd suicide explanation. 1 minute he was fine. Then I asked him to cut some carrots. Next thing I know he no longer wanted to live this way. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more videos like this. Don't forget to leave your stories in the comments below.